Hello and welcome to Language of the Soul podcast. I'm your host, Dominic Domingo.
And I'm your co-host, Virginia Grenier.
We'd like to invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy some inspiring conversation. Here at Language of the Soul, we know that life is story. Individually, we're the products of the stories we tell about ourselves. Culture is the amalgamation of the stories we weave about the human condition. Here's the thing. Individually and collectively, we can write our own story. Thanks for tuning in and joining in the march toward human potential. Hi guys, and welcome to Language of the Soul podcast, where life is story. For those of you that did not tune into the first episode, this is a follow-up to a former episode about Disney legends. We, 2 years ago, had a roaming podcast at CTN Expo. It's the largest, or it was at the time, the largest animation convention in the world. It was a little more intimate this year, but this is our second episode in a two-part series at CTN. So without repeating basically the entire last episode, just to know that the place is crawling with Disney legends, and of course, they're all my colleagues actually from my 11 years at Disney Feature Animation, during what's now become known as the Animation Renaissance. But the beauty is, I guess I had a lot of security at Disney, but traditionally the industry is not that secure, so people tend to move around. So whenever I would interview a Disney legend, they would bring up TV animation properties or other films they had worked on elsewhere. So it's like a gold mine or a treasure trove of lore. So enjoy the nostalgia, the lore. There are some iconic, legendary animators in this episode. We also interview students or greener artists or aspiring animation artists and just say, hey, what brought you to CTN? And that's as inspiring as everything else. So without further ado, enjoy the interviews. Thank you for sitting down with us.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome to Language of the Soul podcast. We're starting real general with everybody. I do know a little bit about you, but not everything.
Okay.
And then, of course, here are a lot of my colleagues from Disney Feature Animation. I feel like I should know their whole IMDb, but you can't.
Right.
So we're starting from scratch with everybody.
Gotcha.
And I know you're an icon and a legend, but I'm going to pretend I know nothing about you just for the listeners.
Okay.
And say, can you just tell us your name and
Sure.
then maybe what you've been up to and some of the titles you've worked on?
Absolutely. My name is Mark Andrews. I've been in the animation industry for 30 plus years now. I got my start in TV animation on The Real Adventures of Johnny Quest when Hanna-Barbera was still existed.
What year was that?
That was when I got out of college in 91.
Okay.
So 91 through 99, I worked on stuff. Warner Brothers happened. They created, after Little Mermaid happened and kind of broke the door back in for animation being a real thing again in the feature realm, studios started popping up all over the place. DreamWorks,
Right.
Warner Brothers. So I was just rolling out of Cal Arts with a bunch of my friends, and it was kind of like a new golden age of animation. We were all getting hired, and
I started in 92 at Disney, so I rode the wave.
So we're right there. I went to the Disney internship in 91 when they brought it back from Florida to Glendale.
I was
and
1990
Okay.
internship.
There you go.
That's funny.
So
yeah.
we're right there at that same crux. So I had a lot of good instructors there. I mean, almost everybody that worked at Disney taught at Cal Arts. They were my art nighttime instructors. So it was exploding because there wasn't enough people and there was a hunger to make a bunch of stuff. So you had these big studios. So I worked on Quest for Camelot, Iron Giant with Brad Bird, and then Osmosis Jones before I left feature animation at Warner Brothers. And I worked with Sam Raimi on Spider-Man, boarding in live action. And then Brad Bird got hired at Pixar. So
That's
I went
a
up
dream
there.
career right there.
It is.
Just working for Brad Bird twice.
Twice? No,
Yeah.
no, it's going to be more than
Okay,
that. It's going
right.
to be more than that. Was his head of story on Incredibles, was his head of story on Ratatouille. Then Pixar asked me to direct up there. I went off and did John Carter of Mars with Andrew Stanton. I was co-directing.
John Carter was live action?
John Carter live action,
Okay.
yes.
So you storyboard, do they often board everything?
Yes, yeah.
Wow.
We boarded it just like we would do any other movie with that kind of detail. Because it's a process that's a really good process that helps save that time and we could visualize stuff. And a big, $200 million action adventure movie, you're gonna want that, right?
Right. Well, depending on the director, though.
Depending on the director. So went off and did that. Then I came back to Pixar and directed Brave.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
With Brenda? Why
Not
did I
with
think
Brenda.
Brenda was a director?
Brenda was the director, and she was the first director, and here was her story. And they had worked on it for 7 years, and this has happened on most every Pixar film. Is you get to that 18-month deadline, and if the movie's not working and not clicking it, they make a change, and they make a big change.
Well, sometimes somebody gets thrown under the bus, and they pump new blood into it also.
Yes, they do. So
it's classic Disney. Sorry.
Yeah. So Brenda, they let Brenda go.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They
Okay,
asked me to come in. I did a page 1 rewrite on the story. Finished that movie in 18 months. Got it to where it
beautiful
really
movie,
needed.
man.
We got the Academy Award, which I share with Brenda.
I didn't know that. I was asking out of complete ignorance, obviously.
No. She had such a beautiful story.
It's
I was
such a
glad to be
beautiful
a part
look,
of it.
too. I know, anyway.
Which was a lot of her and the production design team with Steve Pilcher and
I don't want
our
to stop you.
cinematographer.
Yeah. There's everything. Art direction, cinematography,
Oh, yeah.
production
It's
design.
great. And I kept
wanted
all
to
of that.
lick the
I
screen.
kept all of that. It was so theatrical, and I loved that approach. So I just said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Let's just roll with this because it's really powerful.
And I would say non-linear. Is that I just was blown away by what you got away with. Can you speak to that? For me, it was like a long story, but the Western storytelling structure and all those do's and don'ts. And yet, the early films of Walt Disney would go off on a complete, look at Pinocchio.
Right.
Entire songs that just capture your imagination and take you on a journey, but they don't propel the plot forward, right? And they don't give you really character development. It's just a journey for children and igniting their imagination.
Right.
I felt that way about Brave, that it was non-linear.
Yes.
Do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, I think that was something that came up because, at the end of the day, we want to make it entertaining. And I think that element in the storytelling suddenly gets missed as the priorities. Who's the character? What's their motivation? Where are they going? Are they likable? All that kind of stuff. It's like, wait a minute. What about, is this even entertaining? Is this scene entertaining? So to have her have this, and we're playing with the mythologies, the Scotland mythologies, the will-o'-the-wisps, you don't know if you're in one space or another, all of a sudden they find this mysterious Brock where they encounter Mor'du. It's because she had to encounter Mor'du and come back, but you couldn't go and hunt that bear if you wanted to, So weaving all that together, if you pull back to 60,000 feet, it's straightforward. But once you're down there in the woods and in that landscape and in the story, you're wandering and you're following your nose. So we try to make it organic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Can I follow up on that?
Yes.
I don't want to steer it away from where you might have been headed, but I think that's what I loved about it. Without knowing the regional folklore,
yes,
it was nonlinear because it seemed self-referential, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Shyamalan lost me. I liked his first couple films, then The Lady in the Water or whatever.
Yep.
It's like, sorry, I'm not invested in this because it's self-referential.
Yes.
But I felt like Brave because I didn't know the local regional folklore, felt not self-referential, but in a great way.
Right.
Like I was along for the ride.
Yes. We were honoring that cultural kind of heritage that we all felt when we got over. And then when we were on our research trips there and even talking to the Scots and our guides, there's so much lore that they understand. There's so much stuff that they believe in. If you took a poll right now, 50% of everybody in Scotland and Ireland still believe in fairies.
Right.
It's a very real part of their lives, and the things that happen, that's their connection kind of to the universe. So how do we bring that back, that element that is deeply enriched in them and the soil? How do we put that into the movie? How do we get that, honor that, right? So it's tricky. It's a tricky thread to weave.
We've had a couple podcasts about exactly that. How do you honor, Mulan's a bad example, but you got a huge country and it's their most well-loved tale. How do you not piss people off, for one?
Yes.
And honor it.
Yes.
But just back to something you just said, I had a student from Iceland, sorry. And she said, oh, yeah, there's a rite of passage. You know you're really friends with somebody when you have the conversation and you admit you believe in A, B, C, and D.
Right. Yes. Yeah. So that's, so you got all those forces working against the audience. Still has to understand the story, and they have to relate to the story, because if I'm not relating to it and I'm not invested, it doesn't matter what it is. I'm out. Right.
So how did you strike that balance of honoring the folklore but knowing it's going to be lost on people that are not from that culture and making it relatable and being invested in it and all of that stuff?
It's trial and error ultimately at the end of the day. It's how much do you turn that knob on your mix board. More legend and myth.
Right.
Didn't work. Let's pull it back. It's too much. You're finding all those on your mix board.
But is
of
it
the
test
elements.
screenings or
It's
how
not
do you get...
it's always internal, right? It's because we can sit there, and I think that's the biggest thing, is that creating, telling stories, I have to be able to put on my objective hat and be the audience as if I don't know what's happening with the story. So a lot of the people who work at Pixar and Disney and DreamWorks and stuff like that, that internal group, that's what we've developed, so we could sit back and go, okay, this thing's starting to fire on all the cylinders now. Oh, this section isn't firing on all the cylinders. So one of the biggest things in Brave that we had to do from an audience screening is the connection between the witch and Mordu and the spell that Merida has with the cake that turns her mom into a bear.
It's been a while. I'm so sorry.
So it wasn't syncing for that audience. So we came out of an audience review, and we need to make this foolproof, bulletproof for the audience. So now we're taking visual icons and connecting that thread through these visual icons and through the story that the witch tells. There's double-bladed battle axes, which is Mordu's icon. He came to the witch to ask for a spell. So we're putting it all together so that we can track that this Merida's story has happened before, and Mordu is the warning. The wisps are warning her. They're not bad. They're actually good. They're warning her from going down that path, that selfish path, because that's what happened. You're going to turn into a monster. So she just turned her mom into a bear. If that keeps going down, she's going to become a monster. It's going to ruin their relationship. More bad things are going to happen. So it was just bringing all that and tightening it up, right? And it's tricky to get
Did you have
have it all
consultants
fire.
about the folklore, or did you check in with just the average?
We did. When I was walking through the studio and saw all these sketches of guys in kilts, because I'm Scottish.
Oh, really? Okay.
I'm all, what the hell is this? And Brenda's all, this is my movie idea. It's about this, young woman and her relationship with her mom, and da-da-da, they break it up and magic, and we're going to set it in Scotland. I'm all, wow, do you need any help? So all of their first research books on the lore and photo books of Scotland and stuff were all my books.
Wasn't Carter Goodrich on board pretty
He was.
early on? I
Really
loved those
early on.
little studies.
Yeah, he did a bunch of great
That
studies.
alone, I would want to jump on that project.
I know. Yeah, it was fantastic. So,
I didn't know you directed that. We
Yeah.
struck gold here.
yeah.
Can we switch gears and talk about Up a
Of
little
course.
bit? Were you head of a story?
I was not head of story. I was head of story on Ratatouille
Oh my! Come on,
and Incredibles. Yes,
dude. Well, okay. There's so much to talk about here.
Yes.
But as much as I loved Brave, it's been a while.
Yeah.
So I couldn't really follow some of what
it's
you
been
said.
12, 13 years now.
Yeah, I can't. I got a lot going on in my noggin.
Yeah.
But I do love it. I need to go back and watch it again.
Yeah.
But I loved Up for a variety of reasons.
Sure.
Can you speak to the thematic content of you as you experienced it? Like, what was it mainly? What were the main themes, or what was it trying to impart, if anything? I know it's not a didactic.
Right. Well, I was working at Pixar when Up was being done, but I was on other projects,
Oh, okay.
so I wasn't working directly on Up.
Well, why
That's
did I think
Pete
you
Docter
did?
and Ronnie Del Carmen.
Wasn't it on your?
Ratatouille.
Okay, Ratatouille. That's my other
Incredibles. Yeah, those I have intimate knowledge.
favorite. Well, I worked in Paris at Disney. Remember, we had the
I
Ritchie
went
Brothers
and
studio.
did that ride. It was an amazing ride. That kicked open a whole level of stuff for Disney rides. I mean, we wouldn't have
the Ratatouille ride.
the Ratatouille ride
Euro
in
Disney?
Euro Disney
Okay.
in Paris. I mean, we wouldn't have the new Star Wars ride, if it wasn't for that ride and the technology that they developed for that.
I went to Euro Disney really early on in the early 90s.
Oh, you got to go.
I know, but the thing was, how like here you have to make sure you get a visual where you left your car? Like, it didn't take off for a while. Euro Disney, they didn't
Right.
get it.
No.
So you didn't even bother looking where you parked.
Right. You could
was a
see it in the
ghost
parking lot.
town.
Yes, yeah.
So I don't know anything about the Ratatouille ride,
Yeah.
but my point is I left my heart in Paris.
Yes.
And I've been there a few times, and
Yes.
I love it. Ratatouille, again, non-linear in a way.
Yeah.
But just had a warmth to it and a nostalgia to it. What was your role on Ratatouille?
I had a story on
Had a
Ratatouille.
story.
Yeah. That was another film. It was initially created by Jan Pinkava. He was a director on it, and they worked on that for 6.5 years. Again, it got up to this point where you had 18 months before release, and it wasn't firing on all cylinders, so Jan had to let go. They asked Brad Bird to take it on. Brad said yes. And then Brad called. I was his first call. He says, I can't do this movie without you. Get on here because we have to do it in 18 months.
And you had already worked with him on Iron Giant?
On Iron Giant and on Incredibles.
And on Incredibles.
Yeah.
I didn't realize Incredibles was before Ratatouille. Wow.
Yes. Yeah. So, and then he replaced almost the entire crew because that whole crew was burnt out after 6.5 years. We came back in, so the essential story, we remained the same, and we really worked hard for the first few months. We started in August. We worked hard for that first month up to Christmas, the Christmas break, on Jan's story, telling Jan's story. But over Christmas, it was really hard. So over Christmas, I had this idea of let's kill off Remy's family because they were integral to the story. Brad had another epiphany. He's all, let's kill off Gusteau, because he was originally live in the story. So these were two things that were pulling from Remy's story, these characters. And so we came back in January after the break, and I said, I had epiphany. And Brad said, I had epiphany, you first. And I said, kill off Remy's family. Let's have him alone in Paris so he could reinvent himself and be who he wants to be.
Was it ever explained what happened to them?
Yeah.
Really?
They're in the sewers, and his family goes
Right.
down Lost One sewers, and Remy's
Right.
by himself. It was perfect. We don't know what happened to them, right? And then Remy idolized Gusteau, but he has no idea as a rat that Gusteau died. So when he gets to the restaurant to learn under this fantastic chef, he's gone. He's dead. So that's where we made Gusteau a ghost, a figment of Remy's imagination to inspire him to do what he needs to do. And that suddenly slapped the movie into place, and we were rolling with a brand new kind of version of the movie that still kept that original conceit, but had a whole different type of energy going into it, because the movies are about one character, right? And in a lot of these movies, including Brave, there was this tug of war between, is it Eleanor's story or is it Merida's story?
Right.
Is it Eleanor's story that we have to come down on one idea, right? And
Who had the main arc? I mean, it's...
Yeah, it was Merida.
It was? Okay.
For Brave, it's Merida's story.
I'd have to think about it, but
It's
sometimes...
Merida's because the kids who are watching it, a parent has been a child. So a parent's going to be able to relate to a kid growing up with their parent. A child is not going to relate
They don't
to
have
a
the
parent
perspective, right?
dealing with a kid, right? So we had to, it as a PG 4-quadrant film, you have to make that distinction, right? If it was an adult drama and we were PG-13, it was live action, we make it Eleanor's story, has this unruly rebel kid, and it's more from the parent's point of view. Fine, but I think for animation, that was a decision that I could come in and make without any pain or guilt, because I hadn't been working on it for 6.5, 7 years. You know what I mean? And a lot of it's pulled from Brenda's own relationship with his daughter, or with her daughter.
See, that's when it transcends, though. Like,
It does.
When it's that... you, for good or bad, no offense, saw Brenda's psyche in that film. You know,
and
then,
I brought my own as a
Yeah.
parent, because I have a daughter and 3 sons. And my daughter was a teenager at the time when we were making the movie. And lines of dialogue I pulled directly from my wife and my daughter and put right in the movie. It's in there. So I understand the parent-child relationship, because it doesn't matter if you're a mom with a boy or mom with a girl or dad with a girl or dad with a boy. It's parent-child is that relatable for everyone central story.
You get what I'm saying? The authenticity
The
is
authenticity,
what
that
transcends.
specificity transcends.
Yeah. Well, you've probably heard the more personal you can make a work, the more universally it's going to land.
Yes, that's
You still
right.
have to know what's culturally relative and what audience you're aiming for, but
Right.
it is an irony, I think.
Right.
I feel like you probably know Brian Pimentel.
Brian Pimentel, yeah.
Yeah, I always think of Bambi 2 as an example. I don't talk a lot about
Right.
the sequels.
Yes.
I'm a snob, feature animation.
Sure.
We used to disown them. They
Yes,
got
yes.
better and better.
Yes, yes.
And the Dumbo one was great. And
Yes.
then that one I loved because, again, Brian Psyche was all over that.
Right.
His daddy issues and
Oh, yeah.
how did you get away with that?
Oh, yeah,
but it speaks to people because it's so personal.
That's right. It comes from an authentic place, right? And then you take that element and then you bring that element of how do I make this entertaining, and you blend those two together, and you get something that not only entertains, but the person has had an experience and maybe sees something a little differently than.
I call it transformation.
Yeah,
The Disney animated films are really sophisticated in that way. The way they transform us, and they're not just cathartic or just entertaining. They're all of the above.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that they've skewed too much that way, and they need to bring back straight up entertainment because I want my animated Star Wars. I want my animated Star Wars.
We actually need to do
Lord of the Rings
Lord
of the Rings. Yes,
properly.
Yes,
right. Not the back.
Right.
Yeah, The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings need to be done correctly, in my opinion.
Right.
What are you waiting for?
Warner's, Warner's,
do
if
they
you're
own it?
listening, I'm ready. Put me in. I'll direct your animated series
Well, hire me.
of the Two Blues, the Two Blue Wizards story that's never been done.
Is that a Lord of the Rings
That
reference?
is a Lord of the Rings reference.
Stephen
That's
Colbert.
deep. That's a deep cut. Yeah. No, we'll do Lord of the Rings.
Is that from
story.
Silmarillion? I don't know that reference.
It's from the Silmarillion, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, Gandalf talks about it in The Hobbit, is there are 5 wizards sent to Middle-earth, right? The first 2 were the Blues.
And that hasn't been done yet.
And they disappeared. No, nobody knows what happened to them. We know Saruman, we know Gandalf, and we know Radagast. Saruman brought Radagast, and Gandalf was there on his own. So if you're watching Rings of Power, they got it wrong. Gandalf was not the first one there.
See, I didn't even see that.
Nope.
Was that animated?
No, that's live action. The live action stuff on
that's
Amazon. Right. Yes. So they took a little license with those facts.
Well, let me ask. This kind of is a good transition.
Back to animation.
Well, no, it's a direct transition from what you just said.
Yeah.
It does seem like we got the origin story, and then sequels, are gaining traction. You can have the 12th, right? The 12th installment.
Yeah.
But more disturbing, in my opinion, is like everything needs a franchise attached to it or some kind of nostalgia.
Yes.
Let's remake all the Disney classics as live-action films. Money is not being thrown at original ideas, in my opinion.
Correct, it's not. That's
well,
what
how
we
do
need.
we reverse that trend?
Well, I think this is where technology comes in, because animation has got so big, it costs so much money, there's so much time spent into it because it's off these IPs that you buy that hopefully the broadest audience is going to possibly see to afford that that price tag. And then we keep reiterating the same stories over and over again in these same animated worlds and we're chasing the tail.
And AI soon enough,
right? But I think that the technology is coming, especially with things like the Unreal Engine, where you have real-time rendering, 24 to 70 frames a second. I've been working on that since I left Pixar in 2018. That's been my complete focus, is to reinvent the animation pipeline and to use a real-time pipeline. That means I go onto a stage, mocap stage, I shoot coverage for my animated film off that, because it's all going to be animated by animators. I'm not keeping the mocap. The mocap is strictly for telling the story, blocking, reference, and it's all there for timing. I mean, if you and I jump up over this table and run off and we're on a mocap stage, and I shoot it with 18 different shots, and I give it to my animators. The animators I need 16 frames to get him over the table. I'm like, no, you look, I got it. He's over it in 8 frames. You can use the 8 frames. So it's a much more, I can make the movie for much less. So,
it's more efficient.
It's more efficient. So, for example, I did an original animated series for Netflix called Super Giant Robot Brothers. It came out in 2022, right, just after the pandemic. It's the first ever full animated series, all done in Unreal, final pixel render, all in the machine. It didn't go to anywhere else. We did 5 hours of content. That's 10 half-hour episodes, 5 hours of content in 18 months for $13 million. 1.3
and what would be the price
tag
for a traditional CG pipeline for that?
It's $1 million a minute.
But they never showed us the above. You know the above the line, right?
Oh yeah, I know above the line. And the above the line in animation is not as huge as people think it is. It's not as huge as in live action.
I saw Whoopi Goldberg's invoice.
Right.
Back on Lion King, and my eyes went wah, wah,
wah, wah, wah, wah. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Pixar, we had a whole different different metric. It's high, but it's not even. You're not reaching even 25% of the full budget for the above the line.
Yeah.
But I came out of that experience in 22 going, wait a minute. I just did 5 hours of content of animation, super stylized animation that doesn't look like a video game. 5 hours in 18 months for $13 million. If you gave me $13 million right now to do an animated feature and it was 90 minutes, where does all that extra money go? It goes into the look. It goes into the stylization and the look. So I can have a really good animated movie done in 18 months for $13 million. And animation on its worst day in the box office is a $25-30 million opening weekend. So now that's where I can do original stories, and I could get my PG-13, I could get my R-rated animated horror films. I could do whatever I want, and the new voices could come out, because $13 million to all these studios is a rounding error. Right?
I don't know what that means. Creative accounting.
Creative accounting, it means
issue.
they spend $13 million, not a problem. Right? All the big studios. So that lets other people, these other smaller studios, be able to get in the animation game, because the barrier to entry was financial. I've been having a lot of meetings with a lot of people around Hollywood that want to get into animation. They're going, but it's expensive. I don't have $100 million. I'm all, you need $13 million.
So this conversation started with, how do you reverse the trend of everything having to have a franchise attached?
This is
so
how
when you
do
bring
it.
the cost down, then
The risk-
more original stories can be made.
Because the risk goes away.
Right.
So for somebody could go, hey, I've got $200 million. I want to give it to you to make me a feature animated project. I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make you 5 feature animated projects, 5 animated series for your $200 million.
So what are you doing next with this
That's
model?
what I'm trying to get people to give me money to do it, and it's slowly coming. There's a lot of interest out there. I'm having serious conversations with this on all the projects I work on.
You know, I have to ask.
Yeah.
Do you receive backlash? Ethically, all the jobs lost?
No. Well, yes, jobs will be lost, but not in the way that you think, right? Disney, places like Pixar, they're holding on to 300 plus people, right? And they're doing one movie at a time, and there's one airstrip that the plane takes off on, and you work, and it's just this kind of assembly line. What we're going to have is and instead of, let's say it's 25 animated movies a year, and I'm being very generous. If you're making an animated movie every 18 months, I can have an animated movie come out every week. So you're going to have 52 animated movies come out in a year. That means I'm going to need that many more times people. I mean, we're already in an animation drought right now where nobody's making anything.
Nothing's being greenlit.
Right? And nothing's being greenlit because nobody wants to spend that much money. But what if they could spend $10 million? So what if you do a shotgun approach and I put out my horror movie, my G-rated nonsense, my play school one, my something for high schoolers, find the hottest, K-pop band and do a movie about them or anybody else, and throw out a shotgun approach and see what lands with audiences. Because what YouTube is telling us is that the general audience is dying. You cannot make stuff for the broadest common denominator anymore. Everybody's tired of it because it doesn't speak to their hearts. What speaks to their hearts is the niche market. So if you want a lesbian, vampire, werewolf, galactic, space galactic opera that looks like a cross between Roman and the 50s with the British weird video thing, there's going to be 1 million people that would watch that movie.
See,
and if they pay for a $20 ticket, that is $20 million, and I made it for 13. I just doubled my money.
But that niche, like you're talking about a niche film, that is exactly what I'm talking about, because it's called art for art's sake at that point, Yes.
I
like it. I'm on board.
So that's
initially
back.
I would have thought you on the AI thing, but that's a great way of selling it.
Technology is allowing more voices to get into, and even if you use it, you could use AI right in such a way to handle some of the pain points that we have in productions, but you use it right and you use it ethically, right?
Well,
that empowers, as a tool, that empowers these smaller studios that are 30 people, 50 people to make movies every year for those audiences. And fans, when a fan loves something, they're a rabid fan for the rest of their life. They will pay and see them. My daughter is seeing K-pop Demon Hunters on 10 times.
Of course she
Right?
is.
If it was out in the theater at $20 a ticket, that it would have gone through a freaking roof. You know, I'm sure through the subscription models, they're getting all those places get more than enough money. But that just tells you that these niche markets is where everybody needs to look for, and that's just harder to do.
It's exciting. No,
Yeah.
you're the man to sell it, though. I
Yeah,
like
man.
everything you've said.
Man.
I will say, I started, as I said, at 92 on Lion King.
Right.
But I interned right when Rescuers Down Under was in production.
Fantastic.
And Beauty and the Beast was in development.
Yes.
Even, they were pushing for a paperless system the entire 11 years I was there.
Right.
So every new innovation is the beginning of the end.
Yes.
Everyone catastrophizes
Yeah.
about when the model changes.
100%, and it hasn't been. It's only been able to make us be more creative
But
and
nobody's
do more
explained
stuff.
it
And
to me the way you just explained
Yes.
it. That more jobs are actually created in the end. I mean, we all
Yes.
knew it ain't going anywhere, but everything stalled because of the catastrophizing about AI and
Yes.
the insecurity
Yes.
of the pandemic. Like
Yes.
everything stalled. But the way you explained it is like,
Yes.
this is how we get out of this rut. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. There's going to be actually more jobs. AI isn't going to kill anything. It's going to create more jobs.
Okay, I'm sold. I just feel like the human element, that elusive human element,
Yes.
whatever it is. Do you have an opinion on what is the human element that so far AI seems to not get? Is there one?
Yeah, there is, and I think it's a collaborative process of creativity is what it is. No one human can do it all. I'm going to need somebody else to bounce something off of. Somebody else that has a slightly different skill set than I do, because you have your particular lens from your experiences that may help me out, me trying to make the thing I'm going to make. You're going to see something a little bit more uniquely that I can take that specificity, that
That's
transcending and add it into that because of that input. AI doesn't
so
have
the
that.
subjective experience of
100%.
everybody that's bringing their gift to the project has value.
Has value. It does.
So how do you use AI as a tool while honoring the subjective gifts of everybody on the team?
The pain point is, and you've probably heard this, working with the director or even your department lead character designer, anybody, I'll see it when I see it. I'll know it when I see it, right? And that's the hell for an artist. I can
Okay.
only draw so many spaceships, right?
I have to interject.
Yes,
Somebody,
of course.
I think this is what you're saying. Somebody once said, your whole job as a viz dev artist, and that's what I do mostly
Yes.
is viz dev,
Right.
is you throw a bunch of spaghetti against the wall and see what sticks.
See what sticks,
If
what they
you
react to.
can get an art director to articulate what they actually want instead of what you're
Yes.
saying, I'll know it when I see it,
Yes.
You've actually, that's a miracle.
No, absolutely.
So the argument is like, so if you can't get an art director to do it, how is AI going to take your job?
Right.
No,
Absolutely. And all my experience that I've been dealing with AI, it handles that initial ideation of the spaghetti, right? So I go through the spaghetti. So when I come to my viz dev guy and I go, look, I did 100,000 fucking images exploration through fucking Midjourney, trying a whole bunch of different things. Look at these three things. I think this is our first base.
So the lateral is done in AI.
Is done
and
in
you
AI
hone in on
because it can't give me what I want. I still have to fucking paint over and bring it into Photoshop and cut shit out and da-da-da. It doesn't know anything, right?
So you could get all the way to the point of having a style guide
Yes.
using AI for all
Using
the lateral.
AI and say, here's a style guide. Now take it to the next level, right? And that's all the viz dev artist wants to do, is that clean direction so that we're on the same page and you can go, now your lens comes into work on that. And it's my baseball analogy is I got them to first base off of that, right? And now they're going to steal home.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, I could argue with you a little bit.
Of course.
Just about
of
the
course.
subjective worldviews of all those viz dev artists, and then picking and choosing the best of the best to come up with that style guide.
Right,
but,
right. But it's that. But what I'm looking for as a director, I'm looking for something that I can articulate, and me saying it is still spaghetti on the wall. I'm going, nope. Can you tell me more? It's hard to articulate. But if I have images, because I'm an image person,
and a lot of the artists on the team will be
and
as well,
I don't
right?
want to waste my 40 hours, 60 hours, 100 hours with you on a chase. I want to give you a mission, right?
You cut to the chase.
Let's cut to the chase. So here, I've already sat there, and it's nothing. It's effortless for me to do this in the AI. I go, until I go, I wouldn't have thought of that. That's exactly what I'm looking for, or this is close to what I'm looking for. Hey, check
At least
this out.
it's a conversation
It's
starter.
a conversation starter, and that's all it's meant to be.
I love it. Man, you're influent. You need to start a cult.
Yeah, well, we're starting one right here. You can follow me on Instagram or LinkedIn. I am
Virginia
Mark
wants
Andrews.
to wrap it up. You're awesome. Thank you
Hey,
so much.
thanks.
I
You're
really
awesome. Thanks
appreciate
for
you
the
sitting
questions.
down.
That's really
Of course.
great. Yeah,
thank
Grace
you.
Ryan questioning. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Hello. Thanks for sitting down with us.
Oh, you're very welcome.
And I do know we just established that we worked together for 11 years, but hardly crossed paths.
No, because
the layout of the building.
The building was, I think I was on the second floor and you were on the first floor, right?
In the dungeon, yes.
And down in the in the
Well,
dungeon,
even
all the way down below.
Scene planning was right next door to backgrounds, and even we wouldn't cross paths unless you were going to the commissary, right? It was a weird layout. But anyway, before we lose our listeners entirely, we did work together, but it doesn't mean we know everything about each other. So
No,
for
not at
listeners,
all.
maybe tell us your name, of course. And
Russ
then-
Edmonds. My name's Russ Edmonds. I worked at Disney as an animator, supervising animator, for 24 years. Then I switched to story, and then I was working on different movies to story. I think I've worked on about 24 features in my career
Wow.
so far. Haven't
At
given
Disney
up yet.
or just in general?
In general, Disney, I worked on 17, I think, features, including my last one was Winnie the Pooh, because I stayed. Last one was Winnie the Pooh.
Right. Well,
because I stayed with traditional animation. I didn't switch over to computer animation, like most people had done. So I stayed with traditional, and then I switched to story after that because I wanted to draw. I love to draw.
I like you holdouts. Andreas was a holdout as well, right?
Right,
And
he does.
I was already gone by the time Winnie the Pooh came along.
Yeah.
I was only there 11 years. But the lore is, that was the last 2D thing really before the transition fully took place.
Yes.
We had already closed the Florida studio, the Paris studio.
Right. And Ron and John were asked back to do that.
But would you say they... Okay, again, I was there just before the axe fell and all the layoffs happened.
Right.
And so we would get those town hall meetings, remember, with the pie charts. And
Yes.
So I always felt like upper management they were attributing the success of the films to the medium and the format, meaning the fact that it was CG.
Right.
But it's really storytelling that matters, and you and I probably know that.
Oh, it's
But corporate,
definitely.
it's all about numbers. So I just wonder if you would confirm or deny, people thought Winnie the Pooh was like a test to see if they would keep up the 2D, and when seemingly didn't do as well at the box office as they had hoped, that's when they completely did away with the 2D. Is that fair to say, or is that a myth?
I'm not sure. And I'm not going to take a side on it.
But it was the last one, right?
It was the last one, and I felt in my bones that it was going to be the last one. But typical of me, I kept to my room.
Good policy.
I didn't get involved with the politics of the company. I love what I do. I absolutely love animating. I love drawing. I love being part of it. I get myself immersed in it. It's one gigantic creative mass to me, and I love being involved in it, and I tried to keep all of that negativity out.
I love it.
And that allowed me...
Sorry? I'm so sorry. He can't hear you. If that
he
helps.
can't?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay. What was I talking about?
I don't know. Well, just keeping to yourself
I was
and not
keeping to
getting
myself,
involved in
and
politics.
what that allowed me to do was to stay excited about what I do. And I'm still excited about it. I love this. I love doing what I do. I love telling stories. I love being creative, and I love being able to communicate what is in my head to other people. And I do that through drawing.
Right.
Right?
Well, you seem my experience is people like synergy or in collaboration or not. There's a lot of solo artists that have a singular vision, but it seems like a unique skill set to love storytelling and want to express yourself through the animation as part of a team. That's kind of a unique challenge, isn't it?
That team actually works in my benefit in a way because I'm not an expert in everything, Yeah,
You just bring your
you
gift.
do you do what you do, and you're
Right.
so good at it. Why would I not use your talents, right? And I say, oh, can you help me with this? Can you help me with color? Can you help me with composition? Can you help me with storytelling, boarding, just directing, voice, music? Everybody has a specific talent that they're so good at. And
Right.
I kind of found my little niche in my I'm a good boarder. I'm good at storytelling because I can relay what's in my head directly to the drawings fast. So I can show the directors what I'm thinking without them even telling me. Same with my animation.
That's the ideal, yeah.
Same with the animation. When you can draw quickly and you can express yourself fast, and it's a talent you learn over years, and you end up becoming so good at communicating. And that's what makes any artist the best, because that's
Yeah.
what we do: communicate to the
Tell
audience.
me if this resonates, because I'm a live action director as well. It's
Right.
kind of what I did after leaving Disney.
Okay.
And my thought was, if you hire the right people or cast the right people,
Yes.
and they share your vision and they appreciate the story being told, why would you breathe down their necks or apply kind of an iron-fisted
Exactly.
management? You let them work their magic.
That's right.
Yeah. So I rarely had notes for my actors.
Yo.
I probably should have stepped in more, but I rarely had notes. And
I love that, because you let their creativity add to your creativity.
yeah, as long as you have kind of the long conversations at the outset and make sure you're hiring or casting the
Sure.
right people, you let them work their magic.
Sure, as long as they stay within the story, the story basics, the emotion of the arcs of the whole story, and all of that.
Don't you think Disney was really good at that, though? Like appreciating. I felt so valued there, and it's never
Yes.
happened again in other cultures.
No.
We were really valued. You know?
Not only were we valued, we were actually trained.
With a huge
Walt
legacy,
Stansfield
yeah.
came in, gave us gesture drawing. We had life drawing. We had all the mentors that I had, Glenn Keane, all this, and Mark Ken, and like Gabriel. They would draw over your drawings. They would make you a better artist.
Right. Well, you know Dave Zabosky, right?
Right.
Yeah, he regularly says, I mean, the torch was dropped a little bit here and there, but you're basically learning from the 9 old men because
Right.
it is a legacy and a tradition, and yeah, there's a lot of training.
Right.
I mean, as a background painter, I spent 6 months on Lion King before doing a single production background. And it
Really?
wasn't just learning the techniques, but it was literally going to the ARL, like you're saying, and doing direct copies, doing using a layout, but
Yes.
not seeing the color reference, but kind of guessing what you would do on production.
Right.
It was intense. Yeah.
Right. And my feeling is that it is lost. It's being lost.
The training aspect.
Yeah, because in order to get trained on something like that, it's going to take you 5 to 10 years to really understand how it all works and how all those details work to make it flow the Disney style.
Yeah, I remember, again, it was intensive training, but of course, when my first production background came along, I froze up a little bit. It was too much pressure because I knew it was going to appear on screen.
Yeah.
But I remember saying naively, straight out the gate, like, what's my quota? And
Right.
Lisa Keane, I'm sure you know Lisa.
Yeah, I know
said,
Lisa.
well, we have a department quota, but not a personal one. And she said, let's just worry about quality on this first film.
Yep.
Maybe on your second film, we'll start worrying about numbers. I was like, what?
Isn't that amazing?
So Disney
Yes.
has the luxury of doing that, right?
Right, they do have the luxury of doing it, but they had the studio built over decades to
I
do
live
that.
a block, by the way, from Gelson's, where the original studio used to be,
Yeah.
in
Oh,
Silver
that's
Lake.
pretty
Yeah.
good. Oh yeah.
Yeah. The little
amazing.
cottages, the animator cottages.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just a fluke that I live there. But for our listeners, sorry, I loved. That was a great conversation so far. But can we backpedal a little bit and
Sure.
maybe rattle off, if you want to do a dog and pony show, some of the titles again?
Yep.
And then maybe a silly rote question is like, a cookie cutter question is like, what did you have a favorite?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I was never an animator. People don't know my face. I was never an animator that was thrown out in public. You're right. I was kept in my cave, and get to work, Russ. Get to work. Right.
Never at Disney.
Got to finish it by the end of the week. That kind of a thing. No. Anyway, I was an introvert.
You were what?
I was an introvert.
Yeah, a lot of artists are.
right? So I kind of
You're
kept
doing
it
good now.
myself. But yeah, now 3 cups of coffee. You
Right.
can't shut me up.
And poke you with a stick. Yeah.
So, but I ended up supervising a lot of characters. Max for Little Mermaid and Philippe for Beauty and the Beast. Sarabi, the Lion King, which is
Oh, wow.
Mother,
Yeah.
and Phoebus was for. Did Phoebus the
Oh, from
Hunchback?
Hercules?
Hunchback.
Oh,
Hunchback. He was the guard.
right.
He was the main love for Esmeralda.
Phoebus.
Phoebus is
Is that his name?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
It was.
It's been so long. Shit.
Yes. He had a
The guy with the Prince Valiant bowl
He had
cut.
a little goatee.
Page boy.
Yeah.
That was
little
Phoebus?
goatee. It's Phoebus.
Okay. I believe
and,
you.
And he had, and then Kala. I did Kala,
Kala.
which was Tarzan's mother.
A lot of
So I
humans
supervised
have a
that.
crush on Kala. Have you noticed that? I've seen people confess that was my childhood crush.
Really?
Yeah, you
Of all
contributed
weird
some
things, Kala.
bestiality there.
Yeah, I did some female mothers. I got to say, I did
Yeah,
that.
well, people do get typecast. I mean, Andreas
Yeah.
largely got the villains or the
Yeah.
really idealized male characters.
Yeah.
Was that your specialty, the female animals?
Well, not necessarily. I didn't have a specialty, but I did. They liked my subtlety and emotional, because I throw so much emotion into it that a lot of that emotion gets onto the screen. And so,
What is that magic skill set, though? I mean, we all know the fundamentals: squash
Yeah.
and stretch, anticipation and action, right? And that
Yeah.
breathes life.
Right.
But what would you say charges it with emotion?
I think putting yourself into it and not being afraid to not animate.
Explain that. Not animate. Act. To just
Subtlety.
act.
Subtlety.
It's a lost
I've
art.
never been a fan of overacting. And I've never been a fan of I think I never liked, even in movies, seeing characters overact. So maybe that was part of it.
So the authentic
Yeah,
quality
it's authentic.
is the
Also
emotional impact.
and then I always set things up. I always made sure the characters were founded in reality. I have a degree in mechanical engineering. Physics was a big
Wow.
part of my career of being
Do you
able.
think of yourself as rather left brain, in other words, or
I'm kind of in the middle. That's why I could
apparently,
I could
yeah.
do all the X sheets and everything like that real easy. You know.
yeah, you got the ideal. Well, I'll
it's
put
a
you in
skill
really
set.
good company. It's Leonardo da Vinci was firing on
Oh,
all
that's-
cylinders. You know,
Now that's
you
quite
have a
that's
large
compliment.
corpus callosum, is what it is.
Oh,
A lot of passages.
I try to hide it in my pants.
Right. Good policy. Yeah, you don't want to end up on a watch list or anything like that.
No. So
But I want to go back to the subtlety idea because, again, as a live-action director, you know when somebody walks through the door during auditions if they're new, if they come from theater, right? Or because a little twitch can read on film. So when I'm auditioning actors, half the time I'm just saying less is more.
Right. Exactly.
And
There's so
it
many
says-
animators that like to animate. I mean, that's the whole point of animation, right? It's motion. It's squash and stretch. It's the change of shape. That's what makes it all work.
So I know you're being a little facetious when you say they like to animate as opposed to, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but act.
I don't mean it that way.
They're fixated on the technical aspect of it. Is that?
Yes, especially when they're green.
Right. Well, there's a lot to learn
they're
and
excited.
master. I mean,
excited about it. So when you actually get down to really doing subtlety stuff, it takes a lot of things. You have to hold back because what we're supposed to do is exaggerate, right? We have to exaggerate to see it on film because it goes by 24 frames a second.
well, maybe caricature the key poses. Is that what you
Right.
mean? Like exaggerate?
Exaggerate the key poses, make sure the straights are straight and the curves, and then you're working straight against curves. So all of these technical things are important to making sure that everything moves properly.
Right.
Once you know that, then you can resist it.
Right.
Okay, and then you could pull back.
I would say that is the key to acting, right? You don't show it. You know Stanley Kowalski, right?
Uh-huh.
If you analyze, well, I'm a huge, I'm easily distracted. I'm a huge fan of Tennessee Williams.
Uh-huh.
So Stanley, I've seen many theater productions. Of course, I've seen Marlon Brando and the film version. But Stanley has to do almost nothing.
Really?
It's everybody walking on eggshells around him that make him seem powerful, right? He really doesn't raise his voice. Brando does not raise his voice, but everybody reacting to him. So that's a beautiful restraint right there.
It's exactly the way some of my animation plays against other animation. Because if everything is subtle, then nothing is subtle.
And if everything is overacted, nothing is
overacted. Right.
Iconic. Yeah.
Exactly. So you have to find that middle ground, and who's good at what, and that's where that all comes in. That's where picking the right cast comes in. If every animator has his genius that he can do, and every animator has the things he can't do, or he's not good at.
Sorry, for a little transition, but this is nuanced stuff.
Yeah.
And animators will really benefit from hearing it, and they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what is the general public's kind of greatest misconception, would you say, about animation and
the misconception? I don't understand what you mean about
I don't know, because I'm listening to this going, well, I was actually trained as an animator during my internship. It's a fluke that I ended up coming in as a background painter. There happened to be a position, but really I was supposed to come in as an in-betweener and go that route and work my way up.
Yeah.
So, I taught fundamentals of animation once while it was still fresh. I would have no business doing that now. But anyway, I'm following everything you're saying. But I'm wondering if the public appreciates what goes into this, is another way of putting it.
No, I don't think it's necessary for them to appreciate it. I think it's more necessary for them to enjoy the story.
I like that. Yeah, you should be invisible, really, as an animator, right?
And we are invisible, and because the art form itself is about communicating a story. Without a great story, without great characters, you don't have anything.
See, I want to see if this is a parallel. Post-American Idol, everything is about the vocal performance and the gymnastics. It's all about the vocal performance. But you may remember, like in the early 90s, you had, Kate Bush, Tori Amos. You had people who let the song speak for itself and breathe and and move people. It wasn't about the vocal performance. So I kind of feel like this nuance is lost a little bit, letting the work or the story, trusting it, I guess.
Right.
Is that a parallel or not?
I think it is.
Okay. Woo! Anyway, we can't keep you forever. This is good stuff. Believe it or not, for our listeners, it's right on topic. Is there anything you would want to impart to our listeners? Are lovers of story.
Yes.
Some are into the literary realm. Some are into the cinema realm. But it extends to, life is story, we say. Politics, political campaigning, propaganda, advertising. Story is huge. So, assuming our audience is mainstream, anything you want to share with them?
Yes. A picture's worth 1,000 words. Okay? Heard it before.
Are you telling me to shut up?
I'm saying, no. What I'm really saying is that if you can put what is in your head on a quick sketch and show somebody and communicate your ideas, you're well above the others. If you could keep doing that and train yourself to do that, to take what's in your head and put it down on paper real fast, do that sketch. And I always say, because you need to observe life, you need to understand what you're seeing, and you need to sketch it.
Are you a big fan of drawing live on location?
Yes.
Gesture drawing?
Gesture drawing is like the key to my success. It's the key to a lot of people's success.
If you can capture it in a couple strokes in a couple seconds, you're ahead of the game, right?
Right, because people see visually. People think visually. If we can take a story and put it down on 5 pieces of paper, that will tell an audience more than writing a book.
My favorite films are the ones, you know how they say a minute per page on a screenplay?
Right.
A minute per page. My favorite 90-minute films are like this thick. They're just dialogue light because it becomes theater dell'arte, you know?
Right.
I think you're moved viscerally in a kind of nonlinear way when you experience it without language, because that's the other half of the brain.
Right.
Yeah, I happen
Right.
to love films that are really dialogue free.
I do too. Although
Not
there's
like The
time,
Illusionist, right?
there's time for the comedy, and I love to. That's when I break free of the subtlety.
Oh, right.
I
You can
go
be broad.
crazy with the
Right.
comedy. That's fun.
Did the word? I mean, we use the words broad and naturalistic in animation a lot. Is that
Yeah.
kind of what we're talking about? Like-
Sure, that's exactly it. Naturalistic. Yeah, that's a good word.
Well, thank you. Let's end on a with a bang, as they say.
Okay.
But I want to go more general because you are speaking to animators largely. If you don't know that.
Yeah. Okay.
Assuming our audience are mainstream, and I'm not trying to throw a monkey wrench too much, but we're very much just about story. You know, what does it serve us as artists, right? What drives us?
Right.
But also, what's the impact on culture? So, two questions. What makes you a storyteller? What in your makeup makes you a storyteller? But then I would also ask you, what does story serve in culture? Or what's the role of storytelling in culture?
You know, I don't think I can answer that because all I can do is tell you what drives me, what makes me think creatively, and I put it down. I can't say it verbally, but I put it down on my page the way I can express it. What was the first question?
That's an answer. No, that was a good answer because you're expressing yourself, and it's really not meant to be a cognitive process,
Right.
right? But we're here to analyze what it's serving. The other question is, how does it serve culture? Like traditionally, if we told stories
I'm not
around the
su-
campfire,
Right.
and then that extended to the latest, greatest action adventure, effects-driven film, we've been doing it the whole time.
Right.
Why do we tell stories? That's another way of saying it. Why do we tell stories?
You probably know better than I do.
But you're
I can-
invested in it. You're
I'm
passionate
invested-
about it.
But
so.
the stories I tell are my stories from my head.
And you don't concern
Well,
yourself
I'm
with...
not concerned with how it affects the audience. I'm more concerned. Let's put it this way: I've got directors to help that with that. No, that's not. It's not a good answer.
No.
You have to cut that.
We ask every episode. So no,
I don't have
it's not. It's cool. I mean, I love. That's an
I
answer
don't-
because we do have a lot of artists who just self-express, and there is this idea, even in academia or in elitist circles, that you can't be concerned with outcome. You do it for yourself. You tell, and that's how it reaches people.
But
if
here's
you're
the
true to yourself.
here's
Yeah.
the other thing is I'm part of the cogs of the wheel.
The who?
The cogs of the wheel of the whole industry. I'm part of it. I'm not alone. And I think it's important for me to understand the story someone else wants to tell
Right.
and kind of join them and put my own expression into what they wanted to do.
Right.
When it's time to tell my story, I can do that on my own. And I can bring in people that want to join me with my story. I'm not sure how that all fits together, but
It takes a village to make a film.
yes.
So
especially, you
that's
know
kind of what
that.
we started out with. It's collaborative, it's synergy,
Very-
and I do think it's a unique gift to be able to work in that context
Yeah.
and express yourself through your character as a cog.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, I like it.
I do that.
Anyway, very inspiring stuff. I guess that's it for us, unless you have anything you're dying to say to listeners.
No, I just love what I
Thank
do.
you so
and
much.
Thank you
Thanks for
so
stopping
much.
by. Appreciate
Thanks
it.
for having me.
Hello, thanks for sitting down with us.
Yeah, of
and
course.
Welcome to Language of the Soul podcast.
Yes.
I've heard a little bit about you, but I don't know everything.
Okay.
So let's start from scratch for our listeners, if you don't mind. Can you tell us your name and then what brings you to CTN this year?
Name is Seth Kearsley, and coming to CTN, I've been working in animation for a long time. I've never tabled at a thing like this, so this is my first time tabling. And I have a graphic novel that I've been working on called Never Wonderland.
Never Wonderland?
Never Wonderland, yeah. And
I have heard of
so-
that. Where did
I don't know, maybe here.
I was gonna say, did you say the title a couple minutes ago? No, I've heard of it elsewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, so I started originally working on this 23 years ago after directing Eight Crazy Nights. And it was the film that I wanted to do next. And then Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland was announced, and I was like, I'm going to have to hit pause. And so now this year I'm circling back to it, and so I have the first of 4 books that will ultimately be bound into the graphic novel. That it's a dark Alice in Wonderland sort of reimagining that the graphic novel will see her going into Wonderland and coming across a very different Wonderland and ultimately finding her way back out.
I love it. So just to be clear, did you say it's comic books that will compile to make a graphic novel?
Yeah.
Comic.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's my first time doing a comic book, and so I'm putting it out as ash cans as I get to the graphic novel, but ultimately it'll come out as a graphic novel.
The only reason I asked is I did the exact same model with this guy, but I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew.
I don't either.
No, I learned a little bit, but it was right after the Batman graphic novel where they premiered a different artist with every installation, which was new at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought, oh, mine's the first one that's an original IP where we do the same thing and we premiere a different artist with each one. So I used some of my art center students.
Nice.
Who were amazing.
Yeah.
And now they're superstars. They've done really well.
Yeah.
But nothing's happened with the graphic novel. But I just didn't know, is that a thing now? Where
launched people.
Exactly.
I know a lot of people in animation, because it's really dry right now in animation. So I know a lot of people that are directors or story artists in animation that are doing comics. Just because, you want to get your own idea out there. And right now in animation, it seems like the only things that get greenlit are things that have already been made. So it's just reboots.
We need to reverse that trend, though, where everything needs a built-in plush toy and
I think
nostalgia.
That's part of everyone sort of picking up on that vibe that if you want to do something original and everyone wants to do something original, no one got into this to do a remake of a remake of a remake. So doing your own thing is something that you can control and get it out into the world, and not have to have endless pitch meetings with endless executives who may or may not be at that place in 3 months. And so this is a way you can control it and get it out into the world and out of your head. So that's
do you
the
see
thing
that
for me.
as, what are your options? Doing it independently, or do you feel like there's a trend where now studios are greenlighting things that are more niche or more,
I know that there are comic book companies that are sort of seeing comic books now as the pilot and seeing if there's interest in the comic to then take it into animation.
For a while, the hub of the IP with all the spokes in the different, the Happy Meal,
Right,
the film and the board game, all of that. For a while, it was graphic novels.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I was going to ask you. Oh, is Dark Horse kind of? Do they still have a corner on the market of niche indie?
I mean, Dark Horse is definitely where I think of for this, but also Skybound, is
Skybound Entertainment.
Yeah. So they have Invincible and The Walking Dead and. They have 100 other titles that they're...
Maybe I'm confusing it with something else. I think of them as a film production company.
Are you thinking of Skydance?
Yes,
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah,
okay. So Skybound is graphic novels, comic books.
Yes,
okay.
they have a comic book arm and an animation arm. So yeah, that would be a good place. Or if none of those things happen, then doing a Kickstarter and getting the fans to fund making the book and getting the fans engaged in making the pilot or the trailer or whatever else. Just think that there's this hunger for original stuff right now.
You're not wrong. You have you're preaching to the choir, number one, but you have no idea how many times that's come up this weekend.
Yeah.
It's time to reverse the trend of...
It's the pendulum couldn't swing further in that direction.
Right.
When you're making the live-action remake of the animated thing that
of
just
the origin
had a sequel
story
that,
of the...
the snake can only eat its own tail for so long.
Yep, exactly. Wow. Well, you're part of the avant-garde. You're part of the movement.
Yeah,
I love that.
I think everyone's just fed up. And
Well, and
I
young
think of it for me like, Miyazaki did Nausicaa when he was fed up with the kind of work that he was getting in animation, and that started a whole different movement for him. And
a lot of it too, though, is like the climate. The
Yeah.
early '90s when Disney started distributing the Miyazaki films. It was a moment in time, same thing, where people were sick of consumerism and materialism, and there was a grittiness and a rawness and a realness to Il Postino, like Water for Chocolate, Life is Beautiful, in live action.
Right.
And distributors were like, oh my God, there's actually a market for art. How about that,
Well, even now in animation, like the biggest movie of the year was K-pop Demon Hunters, and that's an original IP. So that blew everything else out of the water, and hopefully it wins the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature. And
so, is it a critical reception, or like kind of audience response, or what attributes to the needed attention to get these people to wake up?
I think it's definitely audience response. Like where the audience goes, that's where the money goes. And so, I wish that K-pop had come out in theaters so that you could be like, well, it was released on Netflix, and then they did do a theatrical release. And so when it came out for like the couple weeks that it was out, it was the #1 movie. And it was already the highest streamed movie for Netflix, and broke records for having the most songs on the Billboard Top 10.
I heard that.
So, like, it was since Saturday Night Fever was the last time that a movie had 4 songs in the top 10. So, I think all of that speaks to the hunger of the audience for original stuff. So
I agree.
Just
but
getting
also,
the suits to see that it pays to go for original IP.
Well, that's kind of what I was getting at with the early '90s example. Is it's all about the bottom line, as it should be. In a way, it's all about the bottom line. So when they saw, wait a minute, it's not just the Lemleys. Mainstream audiences are going out to see, and they won the Oscars. That's what really woke them up. Like Il Postino, Life is Beautiful.
Well, that's last year with Flow. Flow was $4 million. You should watch
animated?
that one. It's
Flow?
animated, Flow. $4 million. Very small team that made it, and it won for Best Animated Feature last year. So if that isn't a wake-up call to the studios that you don't have to spend $200 million in 5 years, give some directors a small budget and creative control, and you're going to get better content and a wider variety. Spread that money out instead of putting it all into one movie. Spread it out across a bunch of different genres and a bunch of different films.
And you see that happening? You're hopeful?
I'm hopeful. I see in independent animation that there's a big push for original stuff that are being crowdfunded by the audience, and so if that's happening for pilots and things, it's just a matter of time before that's happening for features.
Well, the way my brain works, I see there was a democratization in a way when social media really took off, where you get your Justin Biebers and you get people that built a following and a platform. Then record label pays attention.
Well, that in animation is Glitch with the Amazing Digital Circus, where they crowdfunded their pilot, and then the pilot got so many views that Netflix was like, we want this on our platform, and they're like, okay, you can have it. The same day we drop it on YouTube, you can put it on your thing, but you don't get to give us any notes. We're doing it, and you get to play it. So, the fact that an indie can have that much clout,
It's creator-driven, they call it, right? And that actually, on a weekly basis, you hear... I mean, I did hear recently, Netflix is no longer doing creator-driven content. They're going back to what the public wants. That's
Yeah.
literally the wording I heard.
yeah.
But I was just saying a lot of forces collide when you have this confusion about hybrid streaming. You know,
Yeah.
the pandemic didn't help.
Yeah.
Is it theatrical? Is it a hybrid release? Is it streaming only? And so people, even, I don't know if you like Cuarón, the filmmaker,
Yeah.
Roma had come out.
Uh-huh.
And he was like, "Oh no, I'm excited about the hybrid release. I'm fine with people folding their laundry while watching my
Right.
movie." I was like,
Yeah.
"That doesn't sound
Yeah.
like you." But I just think the waters got really muddied for a while.
Yeah.
And now maybe we're so tired of that.
I also think that Gen Z really wants to get out of the house and go to a place to do a thing. So like they're bringing malls back. They're going to bring movie theaters back. Like they're
Really?
sick of everything being on their computer screen. Like they
Gen
wanna,
Alpha.
Gen Alpha, but also Gen Z. My daughters are, part of the Gen Z, and are really sick of all of the time they spent in classes during the pandemic
right.
on the computer, and so they want to get out into the world and
Good.
do the things.
I love it. You've renewed my hope in the
Yeah.
younger. I have 22 nieces and nephews, and I've seen it all.
Yeah.
And yeah, one of my nephews didn't get a high school graduation
Right.
because of.
Yeah, one of mine also. Yeah. But like now they're watching like Stranger Things, and they're seeing like all this stuff that we used to do in the '80s, like going to an arcade to
I
play
was
video
gonna say,
games.
I was gonna say indoor.
Yeah.
Tell me, indoor malls aren't coming back. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, Third Street Promenade. Are you
Yeah.
from the area?
Yeah.
Like, it saddens me. They were gonna serve alcohol publicly
on Third Street
just to
Promenade.
bring people back. Like, I'm out.
I mean, they always had bars and clubs and
but
stuff
you can
there.
carry it. I remember they were
Oh,
like,
you can actually.
oh,
leave,
they were. I don't know if it passed, but they
Ah.
were trying to bring that back.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, indoor malls were so distinctly 80s that I'm not sure we need to bring those back. The
But
gallery.
I know kids that are going to the mall because they can go to the mall and they can walk around, and there's some security.
That's true.
So whether it's indoor or outdoor, I mean, I definitely would prefer the outdoor because
Yeah,
but we do live in a desert here,
True.
and so the summers are hot.
That's
so
true.
That indoor mall, that AC is nice.
I'm just thinking of Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Sherman Oaks
the Sherman Oaks
Galleria, was it?
Galleria, yeah.
Are you my age? How old are you?
I'm probably your age, yes.
You think? You
I'm
first, no.
54.
54?
Yeah.
We're all similar in age.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was very formative. All the teen sex comedies were
Yeah,
made
yeah.
for my generation,
yeah.
Where have we gone? But I was curious. You seem to be headed, if nothing else, you said you'll crowdfund.
Yeah.
In the meantime, how do you build that fan base? Is it all social media, or how do you
It's all
build the
social
fan base?
media, yeah. And things like this, like actually talking to people and, telling them about the book and, actually giving a book, like handing a book to someone, that's like a big thing, that it's like a real something.
Well, it's a
that
connection
exists
too
in
with
the
the
world.
artist. That's how you get true fans. They connect
For
with
sure.
the artist.
Yeah. So I think it's all of that. But at the same time, I'm less focused on like how it gets out and more focused on like what it is that I'm doing. And I just figure that the how it gets out will sort itself out.
They say build it and they will come.
Yeah, exactly.
But truly, if you honor the vision, then you would hope everything else follows.
Yeah, I listen to a lot of Rick Rubin, and he talks a lot about putting the audience last and putting your creative process first. And as long as it rings true to you, it will ring true to the audience. But you shouldn't make something thinking just about the audience.
Yeah,
Because
I agree.
That's the thing that
outcome
isn't gonna
in the
resonate.
creative process,
Yeah.
be concerned with outcome is death.
Yes.
But also, I heard it's come up a lot today too, where you have to, if you're thinking commercially, you do think about your patronage, your readership, or
Sure.
your audience. But within reason, there is that irony that the more personal you make something, the more universally it lands.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's authenticity, I
and
guess.
also like so much of what we do in animation goes through a committee of people that all feel like that they have a reason to give notes, when a lot of times they're giving notes just to give notes to validate their role in the room.
Thank God
and,
at Disney there was none of that. In other cultures, I'm like, oh my God, I was so lucky at Disney because ego.
I don't know
ego.
how you escaped it at Disney because I see it just as much at Disney. But
I just think there was it's as good as it gets with a collaborative, synergetic,
sure,
directing by committee model.
Yeah.
Do you know? I've seen way worse in startup companies and gaming companies and things like that.
Yeah. But that's why for me with my own thing, it's like as personal as I can make it. So I don't have to explain why it's an orange Datsun. It's an orange Datsun because that was my first car.
Right.
And so that's why it's an orange Datsun. And
I
no
love
one's
it.
going to question why is it an orange Datsun. It just is. But if that was in, a show that I was trying to make, people would be like, I mean, orange, should it be orange? And also, should it be a Datsun? It's like, who cares? Just let it be.
And you're the janitor, by the way.
Yeah.
No, you do get
Well,
that.
you were a month ago. And then you became someone's assistant,
freelance.
and then now you're an executive.
Right. Well, there was that too. People would take certain higher ups at Disney would take one class in cinematography.
Right,
And
yes.
come back and tell scene
Yeah.
planning how to move the camera.
I had a meeting on my last thing where some junior executives talked to me and another director who between us had 50 years of directing experience. And they went down this bullet point list of what they were looking for, and it was like directing 101. Like, keep it exciting, but not overwhelming.
Have
And
a
it was
beginning,
just
middle,
like,
and end.
Yes, exactly. It was that kind of thing. Like,
Okay, I can top that. Can I jump in?
Go for it.
I was working at Moonscoop. I'll go ahead and say it. Do you know Moonscoop? And it was the closest I ever came to selling out. It's in the eye of the beholder. But they borrowed me to paint a Care Bear one day. And I had to call my sister, and I'm like, I guess this is a new low. Like, I've never painted a Care Bear. But I didn't know they could borrow me to another production.
Right.
But anyway, at one point, the art director was telling me one thing.
Yeah.
And then the literal wife of the owner was absolutely defying him and whispering in this ear. So I was like, who do I please? And then the topper was the daughter came in with her vacation photos and told me, put these moldings on your Tudor cottage because they're in my vacation photos. So now I have to please the daughter. But, it's not story driven. When I say I was spoiled at Disney, all my design decisions were story driven.
Right. Yeah.
Nope, not at Moonscoop.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have had things where it's the streaming service or the network and the brand, and everyone wants to like put their 2 cents in, and so
They say opinions alike because everybody's got one. You know what I mean? Can you quickly pitch? Do you want to pitch the concept behind the graphic novel?
So it's a modern reimagining of Alice in Wonderland.
Sorry,
and
you said it.
but I can do it again. Our Alice in the book is the great-granddaughter of the original inspiration for the Lewis Carroll books, Alice Liddell. And so her family hits hard times, and she moves into the Liddell family estate, which is this like broken-down Victorian mansion. And she's like, "My life is over. I'm going to choose the basement as my room. Might as well live 6 feet under." And down there, she finds an original handwritten manuscript for Alice in Wonderland, and so she reads that, and that's her gateway into Wonderland. And she finds a completely different Wonderland than her great-grandma went to. So I don't know. I probably did the whole pitch before, but
I love it.
But that's the basic premise.
Was it sorry for my ignorance, but the original girl that Lewis Carroll met that was the inspiration?
Yes.
Did you research her? Like, what do we know about her?
So Lewis Carroll, or Charles Dodgson, Lewis Carroll's a pen name, lived with the Liddell family, and he was a early photographer, and we'll just say that there are pictures that he took of Alice Liddell that are the kind of thing that if someone took that kind of picture of my daughter, so at a point the Liddell family kicks him out and never has any contact with him again. So pretty widely believed that there was some pedophilia going on there, and so didn't go into any of that stuff in the book, but just want to honor like the original girl, Alice Liddell. So that's why I kind of like using her as the basis for the story.
I love it. Yeah, I was just asking for clarification because the Egon Schiele story gets conflated in my mind.
Yeah.
There was some controversy around that too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I think he
sure.
took her away on a train or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, you seem like the type of person that I can ask this question. We have a rote question that we ask all of our guests, so I don't want to keep you forever. So if there's anything you want to impart to our listeners about, your property or how they can best support you, let us know. But I want to end with a general question because clearly we're all about story, which is very vast. I'm sure you might already have that opinion. Life is story.
Yeah.
The premise of our podcast is the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves.
Sure.
And then, like, the stories we tell about our national identity.
Yeah.
And then how the stories we internalize by default literally shape our worldviews.
Yeah.
And then by the ripple effect, affect society. It's just everything. And every week we're, like, astounded by how far-reaching, when you really think about it, the power of story is.
Yeah, for sure.
So do you have any feelings about what makes you a storyteller? And then secondly, what do you believe is the role of storytelling in culture? Traditionally, what has the role of story been in culture?
I think it's like it's imparting wisdom through like relatability, and that as different as we all are, there are universal truths that come through in the stories. For me, as a like, what is story to me? Like, I was. I have cystic fibrosis, and I was very sick all the time when I was young, and so my imagination was the thing that I had to keep myself occupied, and so I was kind of always making these little stories, so for me, it's just a form of expression, and like a little window into my imagination.
Yeah, I had that. I mean, my own take on what makes me an artist changes regularly.
Yeah,
but I
same.
did have that exact thought. Like, for me, it wasn't just any one thing, but it was comfort food.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it redeemed the world.
Well, it's like, it was play, and then everyone grew up, and then now it's story.
Right.
But the play was a story that you improvised while you were playing, and so, that's really kind of all it is. And, I don't really, like, I don't flesh out the story, like, in nitty-gritty detail until I'm actually doing it. So even though this is something that I wanted to do 23 years ago, and I did a bunch of development for it 23 years ago, it's not like I wrote the script that I was like, it must be this. And so, it sort of enables me to every day, as I'm sitting down to do whatever part of it that I'm doing, to invite like some, spontaneity and some improv, and let it kind of organically be what it's going to be.
I love that. Yeah, you got to, in the moment, allow the universe to provide what's needed, and and then in real time.
Don't try to control it too much.
I love
just
that.
Get in the flow and let it come out.
So then, on a macro level, do you feel like if we've told stories since the dawn of time, around the campfire, up to the latest, greatest action-adventure, effects-driven movie, why have we been doing it all this time? It must serve us somehow,
Yeah, I mean, I just go back to like it speaking to like the human condition and
you did address
all of that, I think that we all want to find a way to relate with each other, and that stories are a way that like you can inhabit someone else's story and like relate to them that way.
And that means compassion and empathy, actually, if you can identify with the other.
Right.
So more needed now than ever, yes?
100% more needed now than ever. And,
in this fascist...
And new stories.
Yes.
Not the same old regurgitated, even though there are only so many stories. Like, in storytelling, there are only so many stories, but it's what you bring to the story. So, there are so many Alice in Wonderland stories, but I'm doing it the way I would do it. And so it doesn't matter where you start from, it's the story is coming through the prism that is you, and it's coming out in a different way because you're doing it, which I think is something that like AI will never be able to do. You know that if
You're
you gave
tying all of our
AI
episodes together.
if you
You're
gave,
confirming all of our.
if you gave all of the different learning models the same components, they would all eventually come up with the exact same story. Versus if you gave a half a dozen or a dozen different artists the same prompts, they would come up with each one would be different and unique.
It's the subjective, the subjectivity.
You're bringing part of yourself to put into it, a point of view.
Thank you. I agree. 100%. Beautiful words. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I appreciate
thank you. So yeah, my thing. Did you stop it? DojoProductionsinc.com is my website, and so that has my book and prints and originals and stuff like that. So
Yeah, we'll put links with the episode in the description.
Cool.
Anything you want to put in there. Yeah.
Awesome.
And she's going to take your email address in case you want to add anything later to your metadata in the description.
Cool.
Okay, this is Virginia Grenier, and I am here with
Aaron Blaise.
Okay, Aaron, so tell me a little bit about your background in animation, and I know you also have done some director work as well.
Sure.
So just kind of so our audience knows who you are.
Yeah, so my name is Aaron Blaise. I've been an animator for 38 years. I've been an artist for almost 50 years. I was with Disney for 21 years, so during that time I worked on films like The Rescuers Down Under, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, The Lion King, Pocahontas, Mulan. I directed Brother Bear.
Okay.
And then 2010, I went out on my own, and I just finished my own short film called Snow Bear.
Oh, wow. So what's it been like going out on your own away from a big company to independent work?
It's scary. It was really scary. So I left Disney, like I said, after 21 years. And when I started at Disney, I started right out of college. So I had that, right from the beginning, that job. And I lost my wife 19 years ago to breast cancer. And that really kind of sent me into a tailspin to where I reassessed my life and what I wanted to do. So that's why in 2010 I left and decided to start over. And I wanted to do something. I wanted to redefine myself and find myself again. And I wanted to give back. And so I decided I wanted to teach. And I knew I could do this on a worldwide level through my online business. So I started my business, creatureartteacher.com, and it's all geared towards animation, traditional art, because I actually come from an illustration background.
Okay.
I was trained as an illustrator before I became an animator. I actually wanted to work for National Geographic.
Oh, wow.
And so I teach traditional drawing, painting, digital drawing and painting, storyboarding, but also animation and writing and everything else. And so I did that for, oh my gosh, I've been doing it for almost 15 years. And it was about halfway through that I decided I want to get back into filmmaking, and that's when we started making our own films.
Wow, that's a journey.
Yeah, and it was really scary to start out.
Yeah.
And but I just was determined. I decided I didn't want executives deciding my fate anymore, and I wanted to do something good. So that's what I did.
No, that's really amazing. And I've heard a few people tell me like they are breaking out into doing their own thing because that's exactly it. They want to be able to tell the stories they want to tell.
Yeah.
Versus trying to understand the story they're being told to tell through the art.
Well, it's interesting to me because so many people will, that are on the glass is half empty side will tell you how 2D animation is dead and, this is such a terrible time in the industry, and there is a lot of struggle. But then the other side, and I happen to be on the other side, I see, there's never been a better time to be an independent filmmaker and to do your own films than now, because there's so many great tools to do it with, and there's so many platforms to get them out there to be seen.
Yeah.
And so there's some really great opportunity out there.
Yeah, I agree. So Snow Bear is the one that you're out doing on your own. So tell me what inspired that story.
So it was really, like I said, I lost my wife in 2007, and we had this we met in college. We had this wonderful life together, and when she was diagnosed with cancer, it was a horrible, really difficult time for her, obviously, for me, for both of us. And then after I lost her, I went through this I was just adrift, emotionally adrift. And so all of that kind of came together when I decided to make this film about, I love animals. I've always drawn animals.
Okay.
So I wanted to tell this story. First of all, I wanted to do a film that I could do myself. So I picked one character, and I thought a polar bear in the Arctic. It's a cold environment. They live this lonely existence. It was kind of what I mentally was going through. And so Snow Bear became this metaphor of this last 20 years of this character that builds this. He's looking for companionship. So he builds a snow bear, but it's delicate. And it's fragile, and life is fragile. And so he ends up losing the snow bear, and he's literally adrift in the ocean on an iceberg. And so all of it's this visual metaphor for what I went through.
Yeah, a way to basically visualize your grief that you went through.
And it became therapy for me. It became this cathartic process of doing this, and it was really great. To be honest.
And I've heard that from a lot of artists that have told me, no matter if they're like writing a book, if they're, pencil to paper, type art, it's very cathartic when you're able to externalize what you're feeling, especially
Absolutely.
deep feelings like that.
Yes. Yep.
And get it out there.
Oh, I mean, like I said, they were therapy sessions practically, because I would sit there and, depending on the shot I was animating, I would cry, I would laugh, I would, because they were all memories that I was trying to get onto the page.
Yeah. In a very visceral way.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. No, I love that. So you also are teaching and of course inspiring the new generation that's coming up
wonderful.
Behind. So what's that like, trying to teach them like how to pull from literally that empathy, right?
Yeah.
The human experience, and get that to be on the page to make what they're drawing, animating, whatever they're doing, to like actually have what we've got, human emotion.
Well, you just nailed it. It's human experience.
Yeah.
And so many of them are young. They haven't had the experience yet.
Right.
And so that's what I'm really preaching. And so I talk about my life experience and how diverse it's been and all the things that I've done. And it requires getting out there and putting yourself at risk, and emotional risk, physical risk sometimes, but just really putting yourself out there and experiencing life. So there's that part of it, so that you can create the experiences to then bring back into the studio. And as you mature as an artist, as you mature as a human, and as a writer, if you want to write, these experiences kind of boil to the surface, and it makes the worlds that you create that much richer, that much more believable, and you have something to say. You don't really have much to say unless you get out there and live it. And so that's what I really try to get across with a lot of young artists, especially nowadays, because it's so much of what young artists do, and even what I'm doing now is digitally driven. We've lost touch with the pencil and paper and paintbrush and canvas and all of that, and it's nice to be able to get outside and take those tools outside, but also bring it back into the studio. And so, break away from the monitor and just get out there and experience stuff.
Yeah, so what's it been like going from, like you said, the original like 2D to more of the digital type animation? Because I know that's got to be
it's actually been really cool. I love learning new technology. I always have. I'm 57. I'm still trying to learn stuff, and I always will be. I love paper animation. That's where I started.
Okay.
I love doing it. I love drawing on paper, but I made Snow Bear digitally. It's all hand drawn, but I drew it on a Cintiq, and it was way more efficient than drawing on paper. And so I was able to, get it done. I was able to do more as a single artist drawing digitally than I would have been able to do on paper. And but that being said, the next one I might do on paper. So I'm, it's just because I love that medium as well.
Yeah.
But like I said, I love learning new hardware. I love learning new software, and I get excited about things like that.
Well, listen, I think also learning new stuff and always having that open mind allows you to.
We should all be students.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it helps keep us young in our own way.
Absolutely.
Too.
Yeah.
So you can look at everybody and go, I'm not an old dog, learning new tricks.
Yeah, right.
I'm still a young dog.
Yeah, exactly.
Learning tricks.
Trying to. Exactly.
No, I love that. So you're here, and I know
am.
you've done, here at CTN, and you've done some stuff. What has been some of the feedback you've gotten from some of the people you've heard here about, what's has inspired them that's been touching for you to hear?
Well, for me, I've been doing the business I have now. I've been doing it for 15 years. And so what I love is I have a lot of young people that are in college that have just gotten into the industry that come up to me and said, hey, I got into animation because I watched your videos and I was inspired. Or I just got my first job and I couldn't afford to go to college, but I could afford your classes. And I took your classes and I just got my first job in animation. Those are the things that I really love. And it puts it chokes me up.
Oh,
and
I'm sure.
That's why I did it. And so that was my goal starting out. One of the things that not only was I trying to find myself, but I was also motivated by the fact that private art schools have gotten so incredibly expensive,
right.
Cost prohibitive. You have schools, some of the top schools that kids are trying to get into are $200,000 for a 4-year time into school.
Yeah, so if they get in, just cost effective.
It's ridiculously expensive. It's obscenely expensive.
Right.
So I wanted to provide at least a supplemental route for people to go to that they could afford training and get it from somebody that's been in the industry for a long time and still practicing in the industry. Everybody that I have on my site still practices in the industry. So there's that. So having people come up to me saying I couldn't afford to go to college and I took your courses and now I have a job, that makes me happy because that's exactly why I did it.
Yeah, that's a lot of what we talk about here in the podcast and it's why we started the podcast. A lot of people are like, oh, well, it's because, you're trying to, whatever, make your mark, make money. And we're like, no, it's really, we want to get back.
Yeah.
And share and get people like yourself on the show to really get back and to give to our audience information and to inspire them that, you don't have to be the top, this top school student to do what you want to do.
Exactly.
You can.
Yeah, my wife Karen, she was an incredibly generous person, and so when I started this, I wanted to do something that would make her proud, for lack of a better way of putting it. And so I knew that she would dig this. And it's interesting, you're asking me about Snow Bear and its origin. So, at the end of Snow Bear, he finds companionship. And it's funny, my business partner, 8 years ago, I met my business partner's sister-in-law, and we fell in love. We got married, and so it's the whole cycle, and it's been really, really great.
That's so good to hear. So one of the things we've been asking everybody as they've been here is, what does story mean to them? And then on top of that, how do they see that story has played out in culture?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of wondering where your
for
take
me
is.
And what I want to do with story for me has to be honest. I love stories that have irony, that have a message, that have something to say, obviously. Mm-hmm. But for me personally, I want to inspire action. Snow Bear, on top of having the emotional element to it, also has an environmental element to it. Okay. And so there's a global warming aspect to it. And so I hope it inspires people to think a little differently.
To have the awareness.
Yeah. And so I want story, you can put out statistics about global warming or any other cause that you might have, and statistics are just that. They're statistics or they're graphs or whatever they are, and they don't have a lot of emotion to them, and it's hard to get people to act on those things alone.
Right.
But if you can tell a story, an emotional story, you can get people to empathize.
Yes.
You can get them to feel emotionally for a cause, and that breeds action. And so story is empathy. Getting people to empathize with whatever it is that you're trying to say.
I love that.
And so an empathy is created through universal themes.
Right.
You tell stories that everyone can identify with, and so that's what I try to do.
Yep, that's why we do this podcast, because that's exactly what it is. We feel like that there's this, the universal collective, and we all contribute to it.
Yeah.
Just at varying degrees. And
exactly.
It's very much the concept of we're all individual cogs in the wheels, right? So it's the individuals, some of its, or the wholes of some of its parts, right?
Well, Snow Bear is about loneliness, and I purposely made the film with no dialogue because I wanted it to play across linguistic and cultural barriers. Mm-hmm. But I know that everybody in the world, no matter what culture you come from, no matter what language you speak, experiences loneliness, seeks companionship.
Right.
They look for a human connection. And so that's what that story's about. And so it becomes universal.
Yeah, no, I love that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to keep you too long because I know that you've got a lot going on, but I do thank you for coming. Is there anything else you'd like to leave with our listeners?
Well, if you are a creative, if you're listening to this and you want to create, there's nothing stopping you except you, and just get out there and do it. Even at 57, I'm discovering things about myself that I'm discovering, the fact that I created an entire film on my own. I never thought I could do that. And so that was a really great achievement, but all it took was, in hindsight, just me sitting down and doing it. And so, I hear so many things from young people saying, I can't do this because of that, or I can't do this because of that. You can do it. You just got to decide to do it.
All right. Well, thank you for that, Aaron.
Great. It's nice to meet you.
Nice
Thank
to
you
meet
so
you.
much.
Thank you for sitting down with us, and welcome to Language of the Soul podcast.
Hello.
I saw your short film a few minutes ago. It's really beautiful, and your dad's a great promoter, so you're very lucky to have him. But I don't know much about you, and for our listeners, maybe you could just start by telling us your name, and then what brings you to CTN this year.
Okay. Well, my name's Josh Pyun. My dad suggested I attend CTN Expo because it's a smaller convention, and he thought it would be a good place for me to get my name out and to promote myself, what I do, mostly 2D animation.
Well, I think you came to the right place. It wasn't always a small convention, by the way. Did you know that?
I don't know.
It's been much bigger in former years.
Okay.
For whatever reason, it's just getting more and more intimate.
Yeah.
But it's the place to go. Do you feel like you made some good connections, or what was the goal other than visibility?
Maybe aside from making connections, seeing other people in the industry, like professionals, and getting advice on how to get work within the industry. Mostly, they've told me that it's always just a matter of chance, or just knowing the right people. It's just the same thing over and over. They also say that currently it's a bad time to get employment right now because of all the stuff going on in the animation industry,
like AI.
Yeah.
Well, like what? Like the pandemic, AI.
Yeah, it's just kind of hard getting your foot in the door because these companies and studios just aren't interested in hiring people out of college.
So that's a consent. You heard that from a variety of sources. That's the consensus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. A couple of those things sound like conventional wisdoms that are a little bit of a myth. I do think it's a weird moment. After the pandemic, nobody was green-lighting anything, and now AI is a big when there was the strikes kind of impacted everything.
And then all that stuff with streaming, I still don't really understand it, but I think that it kind of screwed a lot of people, especially when animated shows made for streaming were just booted off.
Say that again.
When especially when animated shows made for streaming services, they were also removed for tax purposes. I mostly just know the whole controversy with Coyote versus Acme, in which they were gonna delay that film, but then it got written off for tax reasons, and it took years for it to finally get released.
Oh no. Yeah, I wasn't aware of that, but I think there's some confusion about the streaming services and what kind of content they want to put out. I know Netflix at one point said, we're done with creator-driven content. We want to give the folks what they want. So they're going more commercial,
It just feels kind of discouraging sometimes.
Sorry. I will say it's going to get better. I mean, the animation industry, we're very hopeful. Actually, remember the guy that was talking about AI? He has a plan, a business model that won't rob artists of jobs, but it'll actually create more jobs. But he's saying it's about getting the higher ups to share the vision, and stop regurgitating these old franchises with, you know what I mean, like a doll attached and a sequel and a prequel, and it's about original content.
Yeah.
So there's some hope, but I will say it's better than it's ever been. When I graduated, art schools weren't putting out the kind of content that recruiters wanted to see in portfolios at all. Events like this didn't exist, so I think it's competitive now, but the work really isn't going anywhere. It's just an awkward moment, in my opinion. So,
yeah, I'm hoping this moment stops soon.
Are you looking for streaming distribution for the short, or does it have distribution?
No, I was I'm currently shopping my short What a Flop to different film festivals. That's what my animation professor encouraged us to do. I'm thinking that once the festival circuit reaches its end, I'm just going to release it on YouTube, and I'm hoping you can gain an audience by then.
Nice.
Yeah,
there was one. Do you know the Sick and Twisted Festival? Have you ever been to that?
I've heard of it.
What? Yeah, there was. It came out of another one, and I'm not going to remember the name. See, what I mean? He's a great promoter.
Yeah.
It was AWN, Animation World Network.
Okay.
And then Animation Magazine is somehow affiliated with them. They started a worldwide festival, and they premiered it in Israel when I was working over there. I just can't remember the name of it.
Oh.
If I think of it, I'll let you know. But it
Okay.
was the biggest. Spike and Mike's is that the same thing?
I've heard of it.
Sick and Twisted?
I'm not sure, maybe.
Do them all, man. How do you apply how do you find festivals?
Through the website Film Freeway. It's been really helpful, finding film festivals, discerning which ones would be the best venue for my short, how my cartoon and would fit with other filmography. I recently just got an award from the Route 66 Film Festival from Illinois. It was mailed to me all the way from Illinois to New Jersey, and it's really it's really encouraging, and it feels nice having people acknowledge my short film.
Did you come here from New Jersey?
Yeah.
Wow, that's quite a trek. Wow.
Last month I went to California for the Lightbox Expo. It was all right, but it was really hectic, and it was crowded, and it took a while to get to places.
Yeah, Lightbox has grown while this one has shrunk. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
But that's the premier expo at the moment. But no, I commend you. I mean, again, when this one was jumping, you'd see people from all over the world with their portfolios. But I commend you for doing this.
Thank you.
And congratulations on the award. Where should our listeners find... Oh, it's not out there yet. Can they go to your website, or what's the best way for them to find you?
I think it'd be nice if they could visit my portfolio website, joshtunes.com, and my Instagram account. Also, it goes by @JoshTunes Inc.
She's going to have you write that down.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll do the best we can to get eyeballs on it.
Just trying to promote more of my original content.
It's very funny. We were your dad and I were speculating about influences. Do you have any distinct? And I could guess.
Mostly SpongeBob SquarePants, and the look and feel is kind of inspired by a lot of Cartoon Network shows I saw growing up. Kind of like Flapjack or Chowder, and a bit of Adventure Time, I think. Just trying to do some old school comedy cartoon.
Yeah, I see all of that in terms of the look of it, because I've used Toon Boom Harmony a little bit, and I found it hard to get really fine lines. You got some really beautiful fine lines, and Cartoon Network can be intentionally kind of stiff. It's iconic, but that can mean stiff. Yours had a lot of organic, fundamental squash and stretch, and a lot of naturalistic movement in it, which is nice.
Thank you. I tried.
It's great, but it also seems kind of mid-century. Does that mean anything to you? Like UPA almost?
Sort of.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then a little Ren and Stimpy, that one moment where the... I forgot what happened.
It's based, yeah. You mean the close-up?
I just remember it suddenly turned into Ren and Stimpy. I liked it.
Yeah, thanks.
He was shuddering or something?
Not really. It's my favorite frame in the whole film.
That's the one, but I don't remember exactly what was happening. I feel like it was the fish,
you just get a close-up
right?
of the fish for the first time.
Anyway, I really enjoyed it,
Thank you.
Our listeners will too, if they can find it. But for now, we'll just put whatever links you give us.
Okay.
And good luck with everything.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for sitting down. Appreciate it.
Uh-huh.
Good luck.
We want to take a moment to thank our wonderful listeners and supporters. Your continued support and sharing of our podcast helps us spread the transformative power of storytelling. If you enjoy our episodes, please rate and review us on your favorite platform and share the podcast with friends and family. For more enriching conversations and insights, subscribe to Language of the Soul podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and anywhere you listen to podcasts. Follow us on social media and visit our Patreon website for the latest updates and exclusive content. Your support helps us continue to bring these important stories to life. If you'd like to support us further, consider joining our Patreon community for exclusive content and donation options. Every bit of support helps us reach more hearts and minds.